Long before the age of YouTube and social media, there was the man, the myth, the legend, Tom Vu. He was rich and open to sharing his secrets on becoming a multimillionaire. You too could be rich like Tom Vu. All you had to do was pay around $16,000 to attend one of his week-long seminars. Just how exactly did Tom Vu make his millions? This video on Tom Vu was requested by Jorge Tolosa. Definitely let us know any scammers you want us to cover by letting us know in the comments or sending us a DM on Instagram. In the late 80s and early 90s, Vu was known for running some of the cringiest television ads by today's standards. But Vu wasn't selling the next revolutionary product or innovative piece of technology. He was selling success. And while his seminars held the secret to ultimate millionaire status, he only provided a vague idea of what he did for a living, buying and selling property. Vu was good at creating buzz. His ads displayed his personality, his wealth, and his infinite entourage of beautiful women. His videos set the scene for the good life. Lavish Florida mansions, fancy cars, yachts, and dozens of bikini-spotting ladies drooling over Tom as he delivered a pitch for his seminars. A commercial like Vu's could air today and nobody would take it seriously. But back then, the delivery, the scene, and the luxury of it all got people talking. He spoke with such confidence. He made you feel like you were making money just by watching his ad. Vu became so iconic that much of what he said ended up as material across some of the most popular TV programs, most notably Family Guy and In Living Color. His comedic delivery, poor video quality aside, most of Tom's script is close to, if not the same, as the internet-era get-rich-quick gurus of today. We've only looked at a tip of Tom's method, a luxurious backdrop to show his target audience that he was living the dream thanks to his strategy. These are the same selling points in today's social media ads by gurus like Grant Cardone, Dan Lok, and Tai Lopez. Yep, the get-rich-quick space hasn't changed that much in the last 30 or so years. How close is it though? Did Vu lay the get-rich-quick foundation, or did he build the entire house? A life of luxury was Vu's main selling point. He could afford the nicest things the world had to offer thanks to the millions he'd amassed in real estate. If you attended one of his seminars, then you could be rich like him. All of his infomercials were him showing off how extraordinary his life was. Luxurious mansions, yachts, top-of-the-line cars, and gorgeous women. If one of Vu's commercials aired today, it would be taken as a joke. Back then, there was no such thing as the internet, and what you saw on TV just had to be true. Vu's infomercials sounded like the golden ticket you'd been looking for. The good life is just a seminar away. Credibility is a big deal when it comes to selling anything, and just about every internet guru, legitimate or not, goes out of their way to get it. If someone is teaching how to be successful, what proof do they have that they're qualified to do so? For most of these teachers, features in respectable publications are the ultimate indicator of expertise. Such publications include Forbes, Inc.com, Business Insider, and Entrepreneur, among others. Not only does a reputable mention give you credibility in the public's eye, but it gives you credibility in the most important eye of all, Google. If Google says you're trustworthy, you've won. But internet gurus and influencers of today have it easy. Tommy didn't have Google, or Instagram, or Forbes.com to back up his credibility. He had to rely on old-fashioned print ads and newspapers to spread his name and build his reputation. He made sure to let you know about those mentions during his ads. He'd show clippings from pieces in the local newspaper with headlines reading, "Vietnamese immigrant finds a home," lots of them, and "buying real estate on a shoestring." Word of mouth was just as important as newspaper and magazine mentions. Vu's students who claimed to have success with the program were far more convincing. Vu had tons of these, all flaunting their recently signed real estate checks thanks to the Tom Vu method. Viewers were convinced that they too could have a piece of the pie, only if they shelled out enough money for Tom's advice, that is. Yes, there's always the secret. One thing that makes the program stand out from the others. And guess who knows the secret? The get-rich-quick guru. In this case, Tom Vu. He claimed to have discovered an easy way to break into the property market without money, credit, or a degree. You didn't have to wait years to profit off the returns. Success with his method was almost immediate. Pretty convincing, huh? If they were so rich, then why are they selling and teaching a course? That's one of the biggest questions wealth teachers have had to answer over the years. And it makes sense. If you held the secret to success, wouldn't you be out there capitalizing on it? And wouldn't you want to keep that secret to yourself? The classic answer is, I want to help as many people as possible, exactly like Vu used to say. The truth is, there are the Bill Gates and Warren Buffetts of the world where they have so much money, they focus on making the world a better place. Getting to that space in life means making an amount of money where they never need to work for it again. Everyone's number is different, but for these internet gurus, we know they're not at that number yet, because why charge so much for seminars? And yes, it's true, these gurus do have to charge something to have someone show their seriousness. It's human nature to not put value to something for free, but it shouldn't cost an arm and a leg for someone to show their commitment. From Vu to Lopez, every get-rich-quick guru will insist that what they're preaching is not a get-rich-quick scheme. But you can tell just how disingenuous that statement is when you look at the bigger picture. The focus of the whole pitch is always crazy amounts of money you can make in the next few days, a week, or a month. You'll see this even more clearly in the testimonials, where the supposed students have made a month's or year's income following the highly secretive methods. This is how Tom Vu operated back then. The entire pitch was him selling the dream of making thousands of dollars in the shortest time possible. But he denied that his program, in any way, was a get-rich-quick scheme. However, one of his TV ads, he literally calls it the Tom Vu Quick Money Making System. This is also a classic one. Location freedom, time freedom, and freedom to do whatever you want with your life. All of these were possible in the 80s and 90s if you had millions in the bank. And how would you have gotten the millions? By attending one of Tom Vu's seminars on buying and selling property using his secret methods, of course. These selling tactics were, and are, still successful to this day. But there's one more, the rags to riches story that really endeared Tom to the people he was targeting. Who doesn't love a good rags to riches story? After all, it's the perfect way to appeal to the emotional side of prospective buyers, American dream glistening in their eyes. Tom didn't waste the opportunity to recount his tough upbringing as a Vietnamese immigrant. As the story goes, Vu was among thousands of refugees who escaped to the United States in 1975 after communist forces took over South Vietnam. The Vu family, consisting of Vu's 9 siblings and his parents, found residence at a refugee camp in Florida and took up odd jobs to earn some bread. Tom Vu himself claims he washed dishes, mowed lawns, and worked as a busboy. But Vu had his eyes on a much bigger prize. He was inspired by his dad, who was a real estate dealer back in Saigon, Vietnam. Vu used to buy books and tapes to learn the ropes, but the advice didn't ring a bell with him. Most of the material told him to buy property and sit on it before selling. Vu wasn't into that. He wanted to flip houses like pancakes. His big break came in 1983 when he saved up enough to buy his first house in Florida for $20,000. His real estate life compounded from there as he kept rolling the money into new properties. From what we can tell, he did make his money initially in real estate. Did Vu get lucky with some early investments, or was the Tom Vu method as profitable as he claimed? No matter the case, Vu was far more famous for being the seminar guy than a real estate mogul. Tom's infomercials were like a fishing pole with $1 million bill attached to the end. The prospect of riches lured viewers to attend one of his seminars. They had their choice of a free one or paid one. The free seminar didn't offer much as far as getting the big bucks was concerned. These free 90-minute sessions were just another way to upsell the audience on Vu's ultimate week-long boot camp. The boot camp is where Tom made most of his money thanks to the insane fee he charged. At the height of his TV fame, the entry fee to one of Tom's real estate investing seminars cost a whopping $16,000. In 1 week, Vu made $300,000 off 19 students. As pricey as it seems, tons of people paid to attend the boot camp. In their minds, the money they'd be making after learning Vu's secrets would be 10 times what they spent on the seminar. Using the Tom Vu method, prospective buyers, his students, were to find a distressed property and offer to purchase it at a significant discount. Distressed property, in this case, meant the owner was in a hurry to get rid of it. They're either close to foreclosure or struggling to pay their mortgage. They need money now to buy a new home, so they might sell their current one for much less than it's worth. Vu claimed he never offered anything more than 50% of the market value, so he had a nice 50% profit or more when he flipped the property. As part of the strategy, Vu would encourage his students to deal with the homeowners directly and have the closing date be a few months out, just enough time to find another buyer on their end. It sounded pretty simple on paper, but putting it into practice just wasn't possible. Students failed, and they failed hard. Reportedly, 9 out of 10 students never made a dime after taking Vu's $16,000 course. As it turned out, not even the most desperate homeowners were stupid enough to throw away their homes at a 50% discount. The distressed home students were targeting were often tied up with the bank. If the homeowners wouldn't sell for dirt cheap, what makes you think the bank would? Many students spent their last pennies on Vu's course and didn't have the capital to start investing in real estate. Even though Vu boasted about making no money down deals, it just wasn't practical. But if they were lucky enough to find a good deal using the methods Vu had taught them, he would swoop in, pay a finder's fee to whoever discovered the property, and keep the profits to himself. That's despite promising a joint venture in such scenarios. What did Vu have to say about the 9 out of 10 students who never found success after taking his seminar? Who cares? You should only care about the 1 out of 10 who found success. With such tactics and the high failure rate of his students, it was only a matter of time before Vu was exposed. A group of 14 Vu students demanded refunds after the methods from the seminar weren't landing them any financial success. Of course, that's something Vu did not like, so he, get this, filed a lawsuit against them. He later dropped it to, according to his lawyers, concentrate on another suit against him filed by another former student in California. But the most negative exposure came from Inside Edition in 1991. An investigative story into the world of Vu's seminars exposed them for what they really were, a scam. Inside Edition revealed that most of his students did not make back their seminar fee. Also, Vu and his team were quite pushy and targeted particularly desperate people for the seminars. Of course, anybody willing to fork over $16,000 to a guy they saw on TV probably was not a millionaire themselves. For instance, a former associate of Vu's disclosed how the guru convinced a struggling pizza shop owner to hand over his last $10,000 for the seminar, all with the assurance of making it back using the secret method. It's not clear whether or not the owner made any money, but it's quite likely that he ended up among the many other former students who could not hack it. That $16,000 didn't even cover your travel expenses. Vu doubled down by convincing students to use his family-owned travel company to book their trip. Doing so netted him an extra 10% commission on his students' plane tickets and hotel fees. The investigative story brought Vu under legal scrutiny in Florida, with the state looking into whether he had committed any fraud, conducted false advertising, or broken any security laws. Somehow, authorities could not find any substantial evidence of any wrongdoing. Ultimately, Tom Vu got away with everything, aside from a damaged reputation, that is. Vu's real estate days didn't last much longer, and neither did his seminars. Instead, Vu packed up his life and moved to Las Vegas, where it looks like he's just spending his days playing poker. To date, Vu has won close to $2 million throughout his poker career. He's still active today, with his latest cash just on June 14th this year in 2021. Maybe we haven't seen the end of Tom Vu's infomercials after all. Could a World Poker Tour seminar be on the horizon? Click to watch one of these next videos.